Fonzarelli, and you're tuned into the Adams Brothers podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to their Facebook and YouTube channel. Now,
good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Adams Brothers podcast. While we cue up our intro music, come on in the room. Welcome to the Adams Brothers podcast. We are live streaming on Facebook this evening. We have our special guest here with us this evening. We have Miss Constance Wilson. She is the mother of Keirson. She is the mother of Keirson Wilson-Forte. He was tragically murdered here in Deerfield Beach, Florida on January 7th, 2020, about 8:15 p.m. And as of today, that case is still unsolved. It's a cold case. And we are here to bring light, some more light, shed light on this unsolved murder. And hopefully some people it'll jog somebody's memory, or somebody may have accidentally seen something and may need to say something. So hopefully we can get some answers and get some calls into Crime Stoppers this evening. So we'd like to welcome Miss Constance Wilson to the Adams Brothers podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your platform. Thank you for having this platform so that word can get out. We're in the community on issues that are very much needed to be addressed. So I'm very happy to be here. And it's nice to see the two of you again. Thank you so much. Yes, and blessings on your efforts as well, because you didn't have to do this, but I feel for you as well because of your tragedy that you experienced. And
absolutely. And yes, we thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and for the other interviewee that you have on, I wanted to express to her how very sad I am about her losing her son as well. I apologize that I don't know her name.
Her name was Robin Lilly.
Robin Lilly, yes.
Yeah,
right.
And also, there's someone that you're having on tonight as well, is besides me.
You're the only one so far.
Yes.
Tonight is your night.
Tonight is all. It's all you tonight.
It's all in memory
of
Keirson Wilson-Forte.
Right.
This is his time.
Right.
Thank you, guys.
And you're absolutely welcome. And like we were talking off camera earlier, and we were saying that this one of the reasons why my brother and we started podcasting was because we have a voice, and we have a platform, and we want people to hear us. And our sister Angela Savage was brutally murdered in 1986?
1986, March 18th.
March 18th.
She disappeared on March 17th, 1986, and she was murdered the next morning and thrown out by the road on March 18th, 1986.
Right here, just blocks away from where my parents lived. And that murder went on unsolved for 20 plus
22 years, 23 years.
And it was a cold case, and we had to stay on them. And we stayed on them until they made an arrest and got a conviction. And this is one of the reasons why we podcast right here today. And we want to help you get that same justice that we got for our sister. So again, Miss Constance Wilson, welcome to the Adams Brothers podcast. So let's start out let's highlight your son. Just tell us some of the good things about your son, some good memories, some laughable moments that you shared. Just tell us some of the good things about Keirson.
Yes, well, he was full of life. He was always looking to do good by me. Even from a little boy, he would massage my shoulders. And that boy had some big old hands too. And I was like, boy, you better use these hands to get you some money later on. And so I always told him he would have made a top-notch physical therapist. Wait a minute, what you call massage therapist? Yes. He would. Yeah, he was so much fun, and he loved everybody. He was a nurturer like me. I can recall him going on some of the home visits that I used to make on people who were taking over raising their children, like relative caregivers for whatever reason.
Right.
If something had happened to the parents or so forth, and he would go with me and he'd be right there with the people trying to see what I'm doing. And he became a nurturer just from being with a nurturer. And I always appreciate that about him. And I wanted to say hello to my family and friends who are no doubt in the audience, and thank them for being so supportive, because they love Keirson just as much as I do. And yes, and they're also, hoping that something would come of this. As a matter of fact, my sister Sheila, you guys, I think you all know her.
I know her. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, she's always looking to find out something she can find out or push it. And I have a niece too. Some of my nieces, like Calandra, them, they're all concerned about justice for Keirson. That's what everyone wants, And he was just a loving guy. At his memorial, you would have thought that they were talking about someone about 60 years old, because he had that kind of personality. And I truly, truly miss him. And his whole thing was to get himself in a position to take care of me. He wanted to take care of me. And that was his goal in life. When everybody has children, but everybody don't have good children. But the ones who are good, they're very good. And I applaud them. And hopefully the ones who aren't being as attentive as they should be to their parents, they will realize the need to cherish them while they have them. Cherish your parents while you have them.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we're like my grandfather used to say, we didn't come here to stay. We're just passing through here, and we're not going to be here for a long time. So you have to create memories, because memories last forever. It lasts a lifetime. So
that's right.
And I'm sure Keirson created a lot of memories. Like you say, he used to massage his shoulders, and his hands were just made for that. Tell us some more about that.
Yes, he's a big guy. Keirson was over 6 feet, and it had been a little while since I had seen him, some months since I had seen him, because I was here and he was in Albany. But he had gotten kind of sizey. He was trim and stuff when I saw him, but he down there eating everything he could eat, I guess, and he got to be a pretty big guy, but he could carry his own, and he was just as sweet as he could be. I mean, I actually wanted the sheriff department to know the kind of person that he was, so that they would realize that he wasn't a part of the riffraff. I'm just going to put it out there. He was not a problem person to the community, to anybody's life and so forth. And I wrote them a letter, if I could just read a little of it.
Yes, by all means.
So they would know. The command team at Broward County Sheriff, I wrote them, on January 7, 2020, my 29-year-old son was murdered in a drive-by shooting in Deerfield Beach, Florida. He was the 614th murder of the new year, just by the 7th of January, exactly 1 month after his 29th birthday. He would have been 31 years old on Tuesday, December 7th. This is a letter that I had written to them. He was a good son. His concern was to work so he could make my life easier in my older years. My life was severed in so many ways. He had no wife and no children. He caused me no trouble as a child, as a young man. He worked hard, 2 jobs most of the time. Prior to this incident, he had never been in that location. Sheriff Tony, I realize this world is in a mess and the wicked just keep getting worse. But soon enough, they will pay for all their wicked deeds. And basing that on the scripture at Psalms 37, 9 through 11. I'm the first to understand that it's bigger than us all. And the Bible states, let every person be in subjection to the superior authorities, for there is no authority except by God. The existing authorities stand placed in their relative position by God. Therefore, whoever opposes the authority has taken a stand against the arrangement of God. Those who have taken a stand against it will bring judgment against themselves. For those rulers are object of fear, not to the good deed, but to the bad. And it's asked, do you want to be free of the fear of authority? Keep doing good and you will have praise from it. And my son respected this law. And I preached it to him to keep his fingerprints where they rightfully belong, attached to the end of his fingers, not in the system. And he was not a part of the system. He was a true victim. He had nothing to do with the outcome of his demise, him being killed out there that night. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't believe that God takes us. Circumstances take us. And so God had nothing to do with anything that is bad. But I went on to say to them that since his untimely murder, I have not gotten one call or correspondence regarding status of this case. I even called to ask if it had become a cold case. No response. Thank you for choosing to serve in this capacity. I pray for all first responders. Continue to be safe. Sincerely, Constance T. Wilson, mother of Keirson Wilson-Forte. And so I did want them to know that he was a good child, good young man, and he didn't cause problems in the community. And like I said, he always was the one that wanted peace. He was the one that tried to get the peace. And I'm so very proud of him. I always will be. And I just had to get that out for you to know just the kind of person that he is.
You know,
that's a nice letter.
It is. That's a nice letter.
Beautiful.
And it just reaches out to me when I hear you say this, and I heard other guests on Monday, Robin Lilly, say the same thing.
Her son was 29 years old.
Her son
too.
was 29 years old when he was murdered, and she was telling us the other evening that, you know, she calls all the time and she sends letters and no one calls her back. It's like I don't know if this is the norm. They just are they just ignoring the families. I'm hearing this from everyone out there. Do you get that same feeling that you're calling and they're looking at the call ID and just not calling you back?
I do get that feeling. I know that it's busy, crazy, and there's been umpteen murders since my son's murder, but they're all deserving of the attention that they deserve. So, and it makes you lean toward, you don't want to play the race card. I don't like to play the race card, but it seems that the importance, it makes you go in that direction, that it's not that important to them. It's just another Black person. You know, you kind of get the feeling that they, you know, and we're the ones killing each other. So they like, it's just another one gone. But that they took so much from me and from my family by taking Keirson. You know, he was truly innocent. He had nothing to do with the events that led to his demise, as I stated. So, but it's all accountability. Go ahead.
Did you talk to Keirson that evening, that day that he was killed? Did you speak to him at any time during that day?
Thank you for asking. It was between 4 and 5. I actually did speak to him, and it was regarding the events that led up to him going over there in the first place. He actually was going to be leaving in about a week and a half to go to Orlando. He had been hired by Werner Trucking, and they were going to train him to drive the 18-wheelers. And he changed residence that day out of necessity. And he went over and he asked one of my nieces, could he come and stay over with her for that week and a half? He's going to leave on January 21st. And that was the 7th. So she said yes. And she always says yes to when it comes to family. She's just that way. So he was going to go there and stay for that until the 21st and then leave, stay until right before and leave. And she actually told me this herself, so I know it's factual, that she was coming up, she had come up from work, and Keirson was just getting to her place in Deerfield, and her son, one of her sons, asked him to ride to the store with him. So being cousins, that's what he did. He said, okay, man, let me just, so he left all his things right there in the car in the parking lot. and got in the car. He never even went inside, I don't think, from what she said. And he got in the car with his cousin, and they rode to the store. And this store happens to be on 3rd Avenue. And so
Third Street.
Third Street. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
So, so they went to
Market.
Freddy's. That's the name.
Freddy's Market.
Yeah, 175 Southwest 3rd Street is where he was shot.
Yes, I do. I have that somewhere. You're absolutely right. And so when they got ready to go, the cousin stopped by this apartment complex where it's like, from the history of it, it's really not a place to be. And my son had never been over there in his life. As a matter of fact, when he was lying on the ground, bleeding to death, no one knew who he was but his cousin, because he had never, ever been over there in his life. And that was
I had always wondered that. Was he familiar with that area? Because we had heard one time that he had a cousin over there and he was visiting his cousin. I think that's what the news reports at the time were saying.
But that wasn't the case. He had actually rode to the store with his cousin, and the cousin stopped by these notorious apartments. And as they were standing out there before they got ready to leave, I think somebody said that they saw the lady who was shot as well in her arm, said they saw this car come by, go down and turn around and come back, and it did it again. And then the next time it came by, they just put the window down and started shooting. So he was standing closer to the road. As a matter of fact, I saw his blood on the ground when I went over there. And so he kind of did not stand a chance. And the idea, or rather, not the idea, but I'm told that there was shooting from up where he was, from up above him at the apartments, because Keirson didn't own a gun. Up by the apartments, they were shooting from there. They found projectiles there and by the road. So they said the shooting was come. So it almost put the thought in my mind about, you've heard of friendly fire, which no fire is friendly, far as I'm concerned, but they're not sure where the bullet came from. That's something that they have in their mind. They're not sure if he was shot from somebody up there, and this may be something that even my family is hearing for the first time. But that's what led up to him being over there that day. So it was his first and last time ever over there in that area in Deerfield. And it's ironic, I was born in Deerfield Beach, Florida.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't know that.
We didn't know that. You was born in Deerfield.
1955, May 17th.
Okay.
Well, we do know your family. We know your family, and they're very nice people. Close to us. We see them, and we have a good relationship with them. And this is one of the reasons. Just one of the reasons why we wanted to see if we could help you.
Thank you.
Get some of the answers and closure. For this murder. So
yes, thank
you. So
he
was shot around 8:15 He was 8:15 p.m. on January 7, 2020 at 175 Southwest 3rd Street. And when the detectives, how long did it take you to get to the scene? Were you in Florida at the time, or were you out of state?
I was living here in Albany, and y'all know Kim.
Yes.
She took it upon herself to say, no, she's not getting on no bus. She's not flying. I'm going to get her. Kim jumped in the car, and my sister and a few other friends, another friend, and they came and picked me up. He was killed on the 7th. They came and grabbed me on the 8th. And so I was almost there right away, but he died I was actually in a Christian meeting that Tuesday night, and my phone rang, and they never call me on the nights that I'm at a Christian meeting. And my sister Sheila, and she knows all so well when my meetings are. And when I saw her name, she knew that I was going to be there on that Tuesday as opposed to that Wednesday night. So when I saw her number come up and she knew I was at the meeting, I knew something was wrong, and I knew it was wrong with Keirson. I knew it. I did. I knew it. And I prayed, and I asked Jehovah to please don't let him die. But he did die because his wounds were, I think they were very superficial. And there's no way he could have survived it.
Wow.
Yes, but
that mother's instinct.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And
Right.
you were in church serving God at the time, you know, and you get this terrible call that your son has just been shot.
Yes. Yes. She was totally overwhelmed. Somebody, these were her words, Connie, because they call me Connie instead of Constance. Everybody know me as Connie Wilson. Right. So she said, Connie, somebody shot Keirson. And that is just like, where does that come from? Where could he have been to get shot? He's never, ever anywhere that would, you know, in a position, or he doesn't carry a gun. He wasn't involved in any gang activity.
Never been arrested, anything like that, right? No criminal history.
None whatsoever.
Just a squeaky clean young man.
Yes, he was. Because I think it had a lot to do with me just riding his back. And because he told me a story one time. He said a girl came over to visit him one night and it was kind of late. And he said all he could hear was me in the background. She ain't no good. She'll so he told that girl to my, look, I don't mean no harm, but you got to go. And he called me and told me. I'm like, that's right, boy. Don't pick up the mutts all your life. I don't mean nothing by that. You know, I'm just
right.
Yeah. Just
so they
choose your company. Choose your company.
Right. They came and picked you up from Albany, and I can just imagine that ride back from Albany, Georgia to Deerfield Beach. That must have been the longest ride of your entire life.
In a way, yes, but I can tell you this: my faith has not allowed me to just be devastated to the point of not being able to carry on things that I absolutely need to give my attention to, and knowing full well that I know it's the adage that, or everybody tends to think that, you know, once we're dead, we're done. But my faith leads me to, from a study of the Bible, that, you know, Jesus said that there's going to be a resurrection, but we may be confused as to where that resurrection may be. But my faith just keeps me holding on and knowing that I will have the opportunity to see my son again in paradise earth. So that night coming, I was just thinking and you know, because he had called me. Remember you asked the question about had I spoken to him? I'm happy that you did, because when he called me, he said that he had to move from where he was, and it was with a relative. And he said, I said, well, did you, he said no, and I'm gonna go because I wouldn't want to disrespect him. So I'm just gonna go. He's been very good to me, Mom. So that's okay. I'll just go. He wants me to go, so I'll go. And that's the kind of guy he was. He said, no, I'm not gonna disrespect him. I'm gonna leave. So there were no words exchanged or anything like that. And so he packed his stuff in the car. As a matter of fact, his car was just neatly packed with his things, his electronics, his, I don't know if they call them woofers, but the speakers, and I still have stuff, and his clothes. He had been to the laundromat. Everything was so neatly folded in the car. His big, gigantic, nice shoes, his Nikes and stuff. He wore size 13, I think. Yeah, 13. Yeah. So,
wow.
And Miss Wilson, you said earlier that you haven't been contacted by anyone from the sheriff department or any investigators or anything, because I say that to say, I remember when we were at the church shortly after that happening, me, you were standing there talking, and the mayor of Deerfield Beach, if you remember, he walked up there and he offered his condolences to you, if you remember, the guy, the white guy that walked up there, and he promised you that night that the police department was going to do everything in their power to try to find out who killed Keirson that night. And I find it amazing that the times you say you contacted them, no one haven't contacted you back. And I just remember the mayor making you that promise, and I was standing right there. And I know he's not over police department. He's the mayor, but I know he did promise you that the city was going to do everything they can to, in conjunction with the sheriff department, to find the murderer of Keirson Wilson-Forte that night.
Right. Thank you so much. And I do remember him saying that. And also, just to clarify, when I went down to meet with them after Keirson was killed, I met with a detective there, and that detective has some personal issues where he's in a life-threatening situation, and after sometime after talking with him and not really knowing how he was doing, because like I said, it was his situation was life-threatening, but someone did contact me after I sent another email, because I have several emails that I have sent to them, and trying to see if there were any new developments, if there was something they could share with me regarding what their efforts are, and nothing really. And then one called me and clarified that, and he said that because of the detective is having issues, we're going to put new eyes on the case. And then I didn't hear anything. So I called him back directly and asked him, because I don't know if you know it, that over a year ago, they assigned a cold case. What would you call it? A cold case department?
Detective? Yeah.
Yes, cold case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Detectives. Yeah. Yes.
Broward County opened the cold case detective unit to try to get on the unsolved cases and so forth. And they said they were going to put new eyes on it. Well, those eyes must have closed or whatever, because I haven't heard anything. But you know what he said a while back? Well, the detective, something happened with him. Sorry, something happened. It's my Bible reading. Something happened with the detective, and they were not going to be able to do it. Yes, but you just opened a new unit for these cases. So not pointing the finger or, anything like that, but they signed up for this. Like we was talking about earlier, this is the job that you chose to do.
And they get paid a lot of money to do it too. And part of their job is to reply back to the public. And I just keep hearing this over and over again, that these mothers and fathers are reaching out to these police departments and sheriff's departments and sending emails and calling, and no one is calling them back. And that's not transparency right there.
And that's a problem in all of government. If you look in government, I mean, not just even at the sheriff department, but if you look at a lot of times at your local government officials, when you call them, you hardly ever get any callbacks. Or if you do, the calls come back days later. Sometimes I think when people get in office, or some of our politicians, the politicians we elect or whoever we put, whether it's at the police department, sometimes I think they kind of forget who they work for. That
we pay their salaries.
They're there for the people.
We pay their salaries. The tax dollars that come out of our checks and go to these taxing authorities, pay these salaries for these police officers and sheriff deputies and state troopers. I mean, we pay for their salaries. So, I mean, the least they could do is call you back. I mean, how long does it take to make a phone call? And
even if you don't
say,
have
hey, we got your email, or we got your message, and we're working on it. I'm going to have someone call you back. But to just ignore a mother or father or a relative that's calling, that's not transparency there. That's not.
Yeah. And there was responses to the email, but it didn't come from anyone who could give me any relevant information. It was just like someone on the command team answering me back, and then speaking to someone in the department, and then they felt the need to say something to me. But none of it turned out to be what they said it was going to be. So, though it's really like no answer at all, because you didn't follow through with what you said you were going to do. And I know it's bigger than all of us, but They, like I
It's
said,
very frustrating. Trust me.
It is. It's frustrating.
I can tell you, Miss Connie, it's very frustrating. If people just knew half the story, I mean, a lot of times with even in my sister's death over the years, just calling up there, and sometimes we would call, and I remember this story very vividly. I was at my parents' house one Friday, and I'm just there. You know, there wasn't at the home that day, and it was this detective pulled up in the yard. So I didn't know who he was. I mean, that was the last thing on my mind. And he came and he asked, say, you know, is Miss Adams there? I say, my parents not here, but I'm the son. And I introduced myself, and you know, me and the detective was talking. I remember his name was Duggan. And I remember we were just talking, and he told me what, you know, since I was the brother, he just went to telling me, and he was like, it was out of the blue. He told me, he said, well, you know, we closed your sister's case. Really?
Like what?
You closed it. And I can remember this had to be probably around about 2005. And I'm like, well, it would have been nice if someone had told us that they closed it. And he was like, well, we already know who did it, you know, and he went to like, you know, saying that the boyfriend, my sister's boyfriend who had died back in 2002.
That had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do, but he went to telling me that it was the boyfriend. So me and him just went back and forth out there. I'll never forget this. It was a Friday, probably around about 6 o'clock. And we just went back and forth. And I told him, I said, look, you're wrong. What you're saying right now, the boyfriend did not do it. But you know, I just wanted to tell you that just to show you how if you don't resist. Now, if we would have fell for that and just said, yeah, he did it, but we never believed that he did it. So that's why we kept looking, Miss Connie, and that's why we kept searching. But I tell people it wasn't peaches and cream all the way through with that, because that just shows you just how this detective just came over there and just went to telling me about how they had closed the case. So if you don't keep calling, and I tell everyone, I told Miss Robin Lilly the other day, I told her when we had her on Monday, I told her, don't stop calling, you know, plaster the neighborhood. If you can get some people, Miss Connie, to just keep putting posters up of Keirson, keep his memory fresh in someone's mind, because I could tell you that's what I did. I went in every store, even 20-something years later, Miss Wilson, and I went in every store and I just took her picture and I asked every store on a white, black. I went all on the beach. I just went, and when people saw the picture back in those days, that was the picture of me. We never forgot, because we know that the boyfriend wasn't there. So what I'm saying, never stop looking, never stop getting on their nerve. If you have to, when you're down here, you make sure you set up a visit to go and see them. And if you don't see them, we got a commissioner here. You go to him and get him and to set up a meeting where you can get some type of satisfaction, because it's no way. And I think they probably know that you're that far up there, so they know you're not gonna be, you know, calling as much, or they think now and that you're not going to call as much. You did reach
out to him for a statement, didn't you?
Yes, and I did reach out to Chief Adam Hofstein for a statement.
He's the chief here in Deerfield Beach, District 10. He's the chief of BSO here in District 10.
Yes, and he did, and he's been, you know, Chief Hofstein. He's been very instrumental with me and my brother in getting us information and getting back to this community, so it won't be unfounded rumors like we had in the past, because as you know, rumors can fly around the world quick. So with him getting back with us and preparing statements as part of the media, he sent me this statement here, and it reads: Sheriff Gregory Toney and the Broward Sheriff Office understands that the nature of these long-term investigations are frustrating to family and loved ones who are anxious for justice and closure. These cases are assigned to the BSO Cold Case Homicide Unit and are still currently open. Reviews have been completed recently in both cases, and efforts continue to identify and prosecute possible suspects. Because they are open cases, we cannot comment on details not to jeopardize any aspects of the investigation. However, we strongly encourage anyone with information to come forward so our detectives can perform their due diligence. The BSO Cold Case Homicide Unit has been very successful in solving cold case homicides, and we are confident that someone somewhere has information we can use regarding these homicides. Please encourage our listeners, your listeners, to share any information via the Broward County Crime Stoppers. And he just wrote on, thank you, Wayne, for all that you and your brother do for this community. This reinvigoration of awareness is critical for these types of cases, and any tips and information we receive is of vital importance for those cold case investigations. Please extend my regards to your guest, Ms. Constance Wilson, today, and let me know if we can be of any further assistance. That was from Chief Adam Hofstein.
And we have a direct relationship with him. Anytime we need to know something, we call him or text him. He gets right back to us. So we know that, and I have a lot of confidence in Chief Hofstein that he will do the right thing. And we're going to keep on asking him for statements. And like he said in that email, and this is an open plea for anybody that's watching out there. If you know anything, if you heard anything, even if you overheard a little snippet of what someone was saying out in the streets, call in to Crime Stoppers at 954-493-TIPS. That's 954-493-8477. I think my brother pinned it into the comments, 954-493-TIPS or 8477. It could be the smallest little thing that you may have heard or you may have seen. And, people, like their friends, they could have been friends that day of the murder, and they may know something that happened that day. And then here it is 3 years later, though, they may not be friends anymore. They may have fallen out of friendship for whatever reason, and they have a conscience, and they might want to clear that conscience. So this is an open plea for whoever out there. If you know anything about this murder, please call in. You can remain anonymous. You don't have to leave your name. You could just send them an email address, and there is a reward too, but there has to be a conviction first before you can get the reward.
See something, say something.
If you see something, say something. Like we talked about earlier. If it could be the smallest thing, please just say something. We're trying to help Miss Wilson here get some closure to this murder of her son, Keirson Wilson-Forte. And go ahead, Miss Wilson. What you want to say?
Miss Wilson, have they told you anything why it occurred? Because, I can tell you from history, right before your son was murdered, it was someone murdered, I believe, around 2019. It was another youngster over there, and he was gunned down. He must have been shot probably over 13, 14 times. And I remember the video going around, and they say that was street business. And I also remember somewhere around 2003, it was another murder of a young man. I think his name might have been Curtis Sneed. And I think he was murdered somewhere, not over in that area, but I think maybe to the west.
On the same street.
On that same street.
Opposite end, near Martin Luther King.
Yes, he was murdered over there. And that case to this day is still unsolved too. So, everyone called that street the murder street. And for a while, a lot of people say they avoided that street. I remember growing up on that street, playing football with a lot of us, Herman Marshall, Mildred Passmore, all those guys. I remember playing football over there with those guys back in the days as kids, as 13, 14-year-olds. But that street is notorious, Miss Wilson, for shootings and killings in the past.
Yes, I did look up some history on that street and saw that there were other unsolved murders before my son. And the one that you mentioned regarding the guy who was like, it was overkill.
Yes.
They shot him so many times. He was a friend, supposedly the best friend of the cousin that Keirson was with.
Wow.
So to me, that place would have been taboo. There's no way I would have ever gone back there.
Right.
Knowing his best friend was killed there. It's like
so Ms. Wilson, you think there could be any type of connection to that?
I just from the streets talking, the streets know because they're always out there. The streets, when you say the streets, it's actually the people. It's not the pavement, it's the people. Yes. So they know what's going on out there. And there were so many things that some beef with Pompano and Deerfield. I heard that. And then gang rivalry. And those were the things that I've heard that has come out of the incident. They were actually, there's a possibility they were gunning for someone who happened to be standing out there that night. They're not sure. Yeah, so he got real caught up. And he's the innocent ones are they always the ones who get the brunt of, the badness.
Yes. I think anyone standing out there that night, Miss Wilson, would have been shot. I think if I had been standing out there, I think they would have shot me that same night, because I don't know what it was about, but like you say, it's always, you hear street business rivalries. I'll never understand that as a Black man. I would never understand that about some of us in our culture, why we are fixated on killing each other.
Yes.
I would never understand that.
And we talked about this earlier. We said it takes a village to raise these kids these days. You just can't, back in our days when we grew up, if we did something, we got 3 or 4 beatings in one day, times has changed so much now, and it's always a person that's in our neighborhood that sits outside, that's always outside, but they never see anything that happens. When something goes down in the neighborhood,
right.
When somebody robbing your house, they don't see nobody robbing
your house. They never see.
See.
Right, but they can see any little other things that happens. Down there, gossip. They'll see that, but they don't see the important things.
And someone knows over there in that area, and not even in the area. Right. Someone knows who killed Keirson Wilson-Forte on January 7th, 2020. Someone knows. Those answers are right here in Deerfield Beach. And I suspect at some point, Miss Wilson, someone is going to get crossed up in a case, and they're going to do just what Dfld did in the Tupac case. They're going to get some type of proffer or get out of jail free card. And I believe they're going to tell. I believe your son's murder is going to be solved at some point, because people, that bothers people. Even the guy that killed our sister, it didn't bother him about our sister, but it bothered him about the first young lady, the 17-year-old Cassandra Scott, who he murdered. It bothered him, and it weighed heavily on his conscience, and he went in and told on himself about the first murder.
Yes, he did.
So I suspect, unless this person is a heartless, dark, Walking Dead type person that has a black heart, at some point, I'm quite sure they have told someone. Someone knows about who killed Keirson that night.
They absolutely
do. It's going to be revealed at some point.
Yes.
That's right. There could be someone related to the incident in the audience as we speak. They could have been in the car, because supposedly there was 4 people at least, 2 guys, 2 girls. And at some point, one of the girls was actually taken down, but they didn't keep her. They did not keep her, who was actually in the car. So what became of that?
Wow.
Yeah. And Miss Wilson, because of all of that, right after that shooting, I remember I got on the city, me and my brother, we got on them, and we asked them to put license tag readers. We asked them to put shot spotter
technology,
and they resisted I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was the cost. Maybe it was the unknown.
Yeah,
but they
was a cost
resisted.
applied to it. It was a lot of money to have it,
But they resisted at first,
but they did it.
And they eventually did it last year.
We have that here.
They put it in the budget, so it was implemented this year. But I think, and I don't know, maybe we did have the license tag readers back. I don't think, maybe we did or maybe we didn't when Keirson was killed, because everyone that enters the city of Deerfield Beach now, they tag is recorded, or anytime a stolen car enters Deerfield Beach, it sends an alert out to the deputies. So, I mean, at least some good came out of the death of Keirson. Some good came out, Miss Wilson.
Yeah. Has there been any more shootings over there in that particular spot? Do you guys know?
I don't think so.
Not after
since Keirson.
Son.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
You know who else should be accountable? The landlords. They should be held accountable as well, because if you know that your particular complex, there's a lot of riffraff, you could be responsible for having what are those lights called that can go all around a complete building? They could be responsible for that, even and enforcing who visits. They could even have curfews at their own apartments that you're not to hang outside after a certain time. Yeah. There's a lot of things they could do, because I actually looked into seeing if I could sue the landlord. Yeah. And it turns out that they can't force them to do anything, but just on GP, I wanted something to be done about that as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Kim Wilson said they also changed the lighting over there soon after, in which I remember that. And I know they also had cameras up in different places over there at that time. I don't know if the cameras were operational. And a lot of times the lighting over there was shot out. They were shooting the lights out. I think they put bulletproof covers over the lights. So I tell people, even to this day, the lighting has a lot to do in our neighborhoods that can prevent a lot of crime. But a lot of things did change over there as a result of Keirson's death. I'm just sorry. It was way too late.
It's always after the fact. Always after the fact.
It's always. And that Ms. Wilson is traditionally in our culture. Things happen after the fact, and I just wish more could have been done. I mean, but we have that culture here of
snitches,
no snitches and stitches, and I tell people all the time, Miss Wilson, people have a right to be afraid of some of that, but but there's many ways people can relay tips, just like we said, because people got to understand, just like Daryl said the other day, most people not going to understand until it happens to someone in their family. Right. When it happens to someone in their family, then they're going to understand the hurt and the pain, the sleepless nights. And I'm quite sure you have endured a lot of them. I know I did over the past 30 years, even though I know who, my sisters still come to me right now. I see them in dreams right now. So a lot of times they come to me and I feel like they're watching over me. They're my angels.
Yeah. I understand.
So what would you like to say? I mean, is there a plea that you would like to put out there to our viewers? What would you like to say to the viewers out there that's watching?
I'd like to just say more about the fact that being accountable is everything. And, the Bible says that we each must carry our own load, and we each must be accountable for what we do, because if we choose to do good, that's really good. And if you're being put down for being good, you should revel in that, and because you're doing good. But when you're doing bad, that's a whole nother story, because what they did it's not exclusive to me, but it's my son. this situation is not exclusive to my situation, my current status, but they took so much, and they just don't realize you cannot give back a life. You can't give back a life. You cannot. And you take away that person, the family, the mom, the siblings, you take so much away from them by taking the life of their loved one. My family has suffered so much because of this loss. And we've lost other people, but when you look at the person wasn't doing anything, they were just trying to live and be happy. And I'm just appealing to those who know. Like you said earlier, the little tidbit, even things that you think do not matter, those things matter. They matter. Just if you heard something in passing, and just think about if this was your son, if this was your dad, if this was your brother, then what would you want? You would want the person responsible for taking that whole piece out of your life to own up to it and take responsibility for it and realize the brunt of what they've done. So I'm just appealing to, if you have a conscience, and we all have one because we were born with the conscience.
Yes,
but
we were.
Don't make a deal with your conscience and say, if you don't bother me, I won't bother you. This is a life that was taken. And I need you to speak up, come out of the crevices. And some of you young ladies, people who are related to these people who know, because they come home with these disfigured faces and they have these attitudes and they know that something has gone down. You saw them come home that night after this incident happened. So you know what they were involved in. If you choose to just stay silent, I hope it doesn't kill your heart. But I can tell you this, I won't let it poison mine. I wish you would really change your life. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And you're joining these gangs and thinking that that's the answer to stuff. You want to be loved by somebody. That is not love, because them same people who shot my son down will shoot you down too.
That's right.
And you know they will. They don't care nothing about your life, just like they didn't care about pulling up out there and firing up the gun and killed my son, took my baby away from me and my family. So, and then too, accountability has to start at home. And just because you're in a single family arrangement, you have the same choices as anybody else does. You can make your life better than anybody ever thought you could. That's how you do it. You prove them wrong. No, every black male is not going to be a killer, a drug dealer, or so forth, whatever. You prove them wrong. That's how you get it. That's how you win, so to speak. That's how you win. So come out of that life. Just come out of that life. Make up your mind that you weren't born doing those things. You don't need to die doing them. So I just hope that they would change their life, and realize that life is just too precious.
Absolutely. And just because you're from a negative environment, that doesn't mean you have to be a part of it. It's just, we've grown up in the so-called hood, and we've seen all of these things all of our lives, but a lot of us turned out to be good. We grew up in the so-called hood, but we turned out good, and for the person that murdered Keirson, and he may have went home and was pillow talking with his girlfriend or his wife or whatever, and maybe that girlfriend or that wife is broken up with that person, and they may want to clear their hearts, so clear their minds. So again, for the viewers out here, you have another question.
Yes.
If there's someone watching out there, please, if you heard something, say something. See something, say something. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, Miss Wilson. If the killer was caught today or tomorrow, what would you have to say to them? And I know we hear this question all the time, and I know you are forgiving, God-fearing woman. Would you forgive that person?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I already have. I put a real heartfelt sentiment on Facebook, letting them know that I forgive them and I hate that their lives have turned out that way, but they have choices, that they don't have to do that just because someone enticed them. Because a lot of times it's just bad association. It's who you draw into your life and your intimate circle will make the difference as to what your life turns out to be. So listen. Yes, so thank you for asking that. But right, well, I forgive, but I'm gonna be in court every day though. I want
there you go. Right. And that's the key right there.
And I wanted to say, Miss Wilson, you, Robin, all y'all good people, because to be honest, I had said numerous of times on the shows because they did shows on my sister murder, and I said numerous of times that I wouldn't forgive that person that killed my sister, and I'm still struggling with that. And I'm a Christian man. Me and my brother in church every Sunday, we run the music and the audio, but I'm still struggling right now as a Christian Black man of forgiving that person, because I think with me, I probably could have, Miss Connie, but I saw the pictures. I saw the pictures of my sister on the autopsy table with a skull peeled back. Those pictures right now, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. If I would have saw that, I wish I had never looked at it. I saw the pictures of her laying there. I saw the ligature marks around my sister's throat. So I'm still struggling as a man right now to forgive that monster that killed our sister. And I know at some point I have to, and that's why I was just listening to you. I know I didn't have to ask you that question, because just talking to you prior, I already knew what the answer was.
Yes, because you can't let it poison you. See, it'll do something to you, and it'll keep you may not believe, but that it has saturated. That's what has happened. So you can't let it saturate, because if it saturates, you might not be able to come from that place, or so, but you will, that's a part of prayer. You have to forgive others in order for your prayers to be answered, young man. So you've got to forgive them, and realize that maybe under different circumstances, he wouldn't have done that. What created this monster in him that caused him to go and do that, because it's not normal. So, you have to feel for them as well. And I truly understand where you're coming from with that. I wanted to share also, and I know we got to
go ahead. Take your time. Go ahead. This your time.
Yes, there is an actual scripture that says that tries to discourage young people from joining gangs. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's Proverbs, and let me read it for you. It's Proverbs 1, starting at the 10th verse. It says, "My son, if sinners try to entice you, do not consent. If they say, 'Come with us, let us set an ambush to shed blood,' we will lie hidden, waiting for innocent victims without cause. We will swallow them alive as the grave does, whole like those going down to the pit. Let us seize all their precious treasures. We will fill our houses with spoil. You should join us, and we will all share equally what we steal." Verse 15, "My son, do not follow them. Keep your feet off their path, for their feet run to do evil. They hurry to shed blood." So it's our Heavenly Father pleading with us, and the structure that is needed where children are concerned. You got to teach them that there's this side and there's that side. When you choose the good side, usually things are going to turn out all right. And if they don't, you'll still know how to deal with it. But the bad side is just bad all the way. It's just bad all the way.
And you know what, Miss Connie, and I got to say this, and it's the truth. Listening to you and Robin, I heard Robin the other night when she was talking on Monday, and I just heard her with her faith in God. And just listening to you before we even went on, and listening to you talk now.
And on the phone this morning.
And I know, just listening to y'all gonna bring me closer to forgiving that person. And I just wanted to say that, because if I listen to y'all too, and I see two spiritual women, what I saw, And I know, just listening to y'all, I know at some point I'm gonna get to that point. And I definitely, I'll say this, and I'm saying it right now while in front of our viewers, just listening to you all too. Definitely, I think it's gonna help me along that way.
I'm so happy because it'll poison you, baby.
Yeah. I want to read a couple of these comments. Robin Lilly, she was on with us on Monday. She said, absolutely, Miss Connie, my son's murder wasn't gang or drug related, but people don't want to say anything because it's not their business until it is their business. I've forgiven the ones responsible for Tyler's murder because forgiveness is not, it's for me, not them.
Right.
And she went on to say, I love you, Wayne and Dal. In due time, God is good. Let him heal your heart for you. And Gail McFadden said, Wayne, you can do it. My brother was murdered in Miami, and we don't know who committed the crime, but I forgive them because I know every man will reap what they sow.
That's right.
So
yes.
Good. Very
and
good.
Gail, I can do it, Gail. Trust me.
Yeah.
I can do it. Trust me. Y'all just don't know how I pray. I'm a hard person at times, but I'm a God praying man throughout the day and all throughout the day. And like I say, just listening to Miss Connie and Miss Robin Lilly definitely have gave me inspiration to do that.
Yeah,
that's so good.
A lot of your friends are on here too. Miss Kim Wilson, I told you all she was amazing. Robin Lilly says, I'm praying for you. Gail McFadden said, I know you can. It's not easy. But again, if you're just joining us here, we've been talking to Miss Constance Wilson. She's the mother of Keirson Wilson-Forte. He was killed in Deerfield Beach on January 7, 2020 at about 8:15 p.m. at 175 Southwest 3rd Street. If you know anything, if you have heard anything, if your ex-girlfriend told you something else, if anybody told you anything about that murder, call Crime Stoppers. You don't have to leave your name. The number is 954-493-TIPS, 954-493-8477. And those tips will be forwarded to the Broward County Sheriff's Office, and I have confidence that they will do the right thing and investigate all these leads. We know it's a cold case, but that's what they signed up for. And for those detectives out there that's working on the case, I don't care wherever you are across this country, when you go home at night, when you lay your head on that pillow before you close your eyes, I want you to ask yourself one question. You know, did you in your heart feel that you looked under every nook and cranny and turned over every stone in these unsolved murder cases? And if that answer, if there's any doubt and in your mind and you know that you didn't, then please do. I mean, these families want closure, and they deserve closure. And we're here at the Adams Brothers Podcast. We're trying to help them get that closure. We want an arrest and a conviction and prison. That's what we want. Is there any closing remarks you'd like to say, Ms. Wilson, before we let you go?
Yes, to thank you all for having this platform so that we can come on and vent and whatever we need to do, because it makes us feel so much better. And I'm sure everyone who has been on can sign on to that. So that these are issues that the families and the communities are affected by. So if you as you continue to address them from this platform, you have our blessings on your efforts as well as your personal lives. And I'm equally sorry that your family has lived with the devastation of having this kind of incident happen as well and have a family member murdered. But I'm happy for the outcome that they put that monster behind bars. Yes, because that's exactly what he is, a monster. And to thank family and friends and everyone who signed on, because I'm sure there are people who from all points, north and south. And so, but we all have to be accountable for our actions. So they may think that they've gotten away, but there's also a scripture that says that because a man is not caught in his error, he thinks that he's gotten away with it, but they didn't get away with it. And also that if a person has killed someone innocently, that you're not to help them. We know we have a federal law that says that, but God said it first. He said, don't help them. Don't help them. Because then you might as well have pulled the trigger yourself. Because by your helping that person who's taken someone's life, an innocent life, you're just as guilty as they are. Have a conscience. Don't let your life be so terrible, because it doesn't have to be. And this image thing that the young people have going on, that they can carry the biggest gun, they can, that they can rap better, and they say, okay, fine, there's nothing wrong with rapping. But if your rapping if you need to carry a gun to rap, you rap with your mouth. Bullets have no eyes. And when you take innocent lives, none of that matters. I don't care if you're a rapper or if you're a red snapper. You cannot give back a life. So we have to be accountable for what we do, guys. Thank you so much.
Yes,
You're
and
absolutely welcome.
And thank you, Miss Connie. You are a amazing woman. You and Robin Lilly were amazing guests, and I love both of you all. You spoke so eloquently on him in for your son. I mean, I'm touched, just like I was touched the other day with Robin, and I'm so glad that we did this.
Keep the fight up. Keep the pressure on. You keep the pressure on from Albany. We're gonna continue to keep the pressure on from Deerfield Beach, and we're gonna keep sending emails every time we see the chief. We're gonna ask him what's going on with these unsolved murders, and we're gonna help them arrest some people and put them behind bars where they need to be. We want to thank Miss Constance Connie Wilson, and she is the mother of Keirson Wilson-Forte, for joining us here on the Adams Brothers podcast. You have our contact information. If you need anything from us,
updates
you have, please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to bring you back on anytime you want. You're welcome to come on this podcast.
And God bless you.
Thank you. And I did reach out to the head detective. I got no response. Just so you know.
All right.
Who is the head detective, by the way?
I can tell you. I can say it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. His name is Detective Hayes.
Is that Sergeant Hayes or Detective Hayes?
Sergeant or not? He's detective. But the last time I spoke to him, it was Detective James Hayes.
James Hayes. Okay. Well, we'll be reaching out to the chief here in Deerfield Beach, and we're going to see if we can get some answers. And I know they're not going to give us, too much information, because it's an ongoing investigation into a murder. So thank you again for joining us, and God bless you, and you have a good heart, and I'm sure you're going to get that closure you need. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, and good evening. Good evening, everyone and family. Yes. Love y'all.
We love you
too.